which is top 8 in the nation. One match away, lost with 10 seconds left by 2 points. Slight scramble situation. A scramble, if you remember the cartoons, the cat and dog, they get in a big dust cloud. That's kind of how we look. That's what we call scrambles. We got in a scramble. The guy ended up on top of me. Sudden death match, he won. And to make it worse, he was a good friend of mine. He graduated. I never got my payback on him. So, yeah, he held that over my head. Whenever we talk wrestling, he'd always bring it up. He'd say, hey, you remember how I beat you? Remember that? I could never say anything to him. But he never won a national championship. So he never got a nice shiny ring. So when I got this ring, I sent him a text message. I said, hey, I know you don't know how it feels to be a national champ. So it feels awesome. I sent a picture smiling next to the ring. He doesn't like to talk wrestling with me anymore. So after that season, redshirt freshman year, that match being so close, ASU says, okay, you got something? Here's a full-ride wrestling scholarship. Quit your night job, just focus on wrestling for us. Wrestling in school, get that title. They even named me captain of the wrestling team going into my sophomore year. So I'm charged up, I'm ready to go, and I'm excited. The season starts off great. My ranking starts climbing up nationally. I'm gearing up for the national tournament. But towards the end of the year, it seems like things started to spiral out of my control. So I don't know about you folks, but for me, when things are going great, every once in a while, one bad thing, it seems like it knocks me off my tracks. I'm getting hit from all sides. And that's what happened as I'm gearing up for nationals. I remember waking up one morning and my body just felt just super weak. I could barely get out of bed. My throat felt like it was swollen shut. Hurt so bad. They sent me to the doctors and they do a full workup on me and say, you got mono. So you got a bad case of it. We don't know if you're going to be able to compete the rest of the season. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, rest of the season? I have Pac-10s and nationals left over. That's my season. That's what I trained for all year round. Everything else wasn't important. This is my season right here. I can't miss that. And they say, sorry, don't go to practice. Don't go to school. Just rest. We'll let you know when we want to test you again, see if you can come back. And so I'm sitting there. 21 days passes, and I can't even train. I can't even wrestle. No practice, no lifting, nothing. And I'm nervous now because nationals, it's about 3 weeks away. So I'm freaking out. I'm scared. I decided to call my mom up just to have her kind of encourage me, cheer me up. And as I call her, she picks up the phone, and I knew something was wrong just by her voice, just by the sound of her voice when she said hello. We were talking for a bit, and I asked her, I said, Mom, are you all right? You having a bad day? You're not feeling good? Or you don't sound normal? And I remember when I said that, she started to cry. And that made my heart drop. I started freaking out. Thinking, Mom doesn't cry. This is bad. What's going on? Just thinking of everything bad that could be happening. And she said there's no for me, Dad. And she was talking about my stepdad. My stepdad, he raised me since I was 2 years old. So he was the only dad I knew. That's my dad. She said, your dad left a note, and he said he's leaving. He said, I don't know where he's at. He just took off. All his stuff's gone. And what happened was my dad, he basically disappeared for about 2 weeks. Didn't know if he was alive or dead. Didn't know where he was at. Just took off. He wasn't sending money back to my mom. Nothing. My mom was there with my 3 little brothers and my little sister. None of them were in high school yet. So her full-time job was at home with the kids, just taking care of all them. She wasn't getting paid for that. So the bills were piling up. And she told me she was selling her blood once a week just to put food on the table. And it was a bad situation. So I'm sitting there on the phone just telling her, I said, Mom, I'm useless here. They're not letting me train. I can't even go to class. I'm just going to come back home and I'll get a job. I said, I'll try to get my airport job back. I'll finish school up later on. I said, but right now, I got to take care of you guys. My mom, she said, no. She said, you finish what you started, don't come home. She said, you get healthy, you get back to wrestling, but you don't come back here. She said, we're going to be fine. We'll be okay. And my mom, she's very stubborn, very hard-headed. I get it from her. So we were arguing for a little bit about that. But she got her way. I stayed at ASU. I stayed. It was a couple of days later, ASU calls me. They say, okay, this last blood test looks good. You can come back and start training. So I have like 2.5 weeks to train. 2 weeks to train for nationals. I'm thinking, this is a waste of time. I don't want to be here anyway. My body's thrashed. I'm still sick. I don't want to go to this tournament. But I go reluctantly to practice, and I was very negative about it, just angry. Wasn't talking to my team. Wasn't really talking to my coaches. They knew what was going on, so they allowed me just to be on my own for a couple of days. But one day, my coach kind of snapped with me. He had it. He says, okay. He says, we're not leaving this wrestling room until you beat him. And the kid he called out, he was my backup. So I should have been able to beat him. We wrestle 4 matches in a row, and 4 matches in a row, he just kicks my butt. Just throws me around the room, beats me up. So the 5th match, now coach is just screaming at me. He's got the whole team circled around the mat because they can't leave because I haven't won yet. So they're all circled around the mat. Coach is screaming at me. He's telling me I'm quitting. He's yelling. Spit's coming out of his mouth. He's got these words I never heard before coming out of his mouth. He's just going crazy on me as I'm wrestling the guy. And the guy's beating me again. His 5th match in, he's beating me. And so in my head, I'm thinking, okay, it's time to bounce back right now. Time to take charge. Here I go. I got to shut coach up. I got to win this match right now. I go in. I try to attack the guy. He takes advantage. He picks me up off the ground, throws me, just launches me in the air, slams me down on the mat, and he lands on top of me. I could just feel the wind just get knocked out of me. And it hurt, but I could have kept fighting. I could have rolled off my back. In wrestling, you never want to get pinned, which is you're on your back, your shoulders touch the mat. You never want to get pinned because we see that as a sign of weakness, as a sign of you quitting. He threw me on the ground on my back. I didn't try to fight off my back. I just laid there. And so my coach, he blew his whistle. He looks down at me. He said, if you want to quit, there's a door. He said, we don't need you anymore. So we probably made a mistake making you captain and giving you that scholarship. We didn't expect this from you. You're not what we thought. And when he said that, I stood up. I started walking out to the locker room to clear my stuff out. Just tears coming down my face. Right in front of my teammates, just crying. So I'm in the locker room clearing my stuff out. I was stuffing it into the bag. And coach walks in the locker room. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to scream at me some more. Here it comes. Pack my bag quicker because I don't want to deal with it. So faster, I'm stuffing my stuff in the bag, just packing it up. Coach comes in. He slams my locker room door shut. So now he's blocking my locker as I'm sitting on the bench. We're close. So I stood up. Now I'm just mad. I'm angry. And I was just clenching my fist. And I was thinking in my head, if he yells at me now, I'm going to headbutt him right in his big chin because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear his mouth right now. I don't want to hear it. So I'm waiting, just angry, just looking at him. He's looking at me. And he did something I wasn't expecting. He looked at me for a second, and he just gave me a big hug. Just locked onto me, locked his arms, bear hugged me. I couldn't get away. I tried to fight for a second, use my wrestling. I couldn't get away from his lock. But it made me cry again. I broke down as he was hugging me, just tears coming down. And he let me cry for a little while. Just let me just bawl my eyes out. And he said something. After a while, it changed my outlook on things, how I viewed certain challenges. He said, look, whether you like it or not, there's always going to be a challenge waiting for you. He said, there's going to be stuff that's going to knock you down right on your face. He said, you can't control those things. He said, that's life. Things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. Things are going to come up. He said, all you can do is respond to it. He said, how are you going to react? Are you going to let the challenge break you, or are you going to move forward? He said, you think about that. If you want to stay here, we want you to stay. You're our captain. We love you. You're part of this family. But if your heart's not in this, if your mind's not in it, and if you don't believe in yourself, then don't come back. He said, go home and think about that and let me know.